Have the tariffs affected you? Are you being
Personally, no.
Okay.
My import exports have remained the same.
I feel like the tariff shit is. I've really found out who my rich friends were.
Yeah.
When the tariff shit, like, I'm not gonna say no names but we have a rich friend, a very rich friend. You know him.
Sure. Sure, we got a few rich friends.
No, but this one's rich.
I know what you're talking about. Okay. Yes.
No,
so
this
that
one's
one.
like actual rich. No, those are poor.
Once you said rich, then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it.
The poor people you're referring to?
Yeah.
Fair enough, but
we're not talking about first class.
Yeah.
We're talking about private jet.
He's rich, but he also still has a job because he's a good rich. No,
sure.
But no. I spent a lot of time with this person, and that's when it was really hitting me, like the news or all these tariffs. Yeah. I'm like, damn, I'm not affected at all until I saw how much anxiety. That's all this nigga talked about.
Yeah.
I'm talking like it was the Drake and Kendrick. I mean, obviously, very important stuff. Very important.
Anyone who looks at that line going down and is like, oh, fuck. I do not relate to that.
I know it's bad. I recognize it's bad, but also that shit don't affect me right now.
I don't care.
I mean, but he was visibly all his Instagram story. It just made me go, I'm gonna start complaining about the tariffs so I can just flex on nigga.
Yeah.
Like, damn, nigga.
Yeah.
These tariffs ain't affecting you?
Yeah. Oh man, the markets. That's what you gotta say.
Oh man, you ain't affected by the tariffs, broke ass nigga. All right. Yeah. That's the new flex.
That's your new strategy of pretending like you're doing well.
That is. How much money I've lost on the stock markets due to the tariffs. That's the new flex. But that's been my week, figuring out, trying to.
I came out unscathed. Thank God. Thank the Lord.
Trying to console this rich man. Oh, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
My sister hasn't had a job in months.
Yes.
But,
the price of jet fuel. I mean, how am I going to get home?
Let's start the show.
Start the show. Welcome to KAWPS, the podcast. Thanks for joining me and Ashton. Y'all know what the podcast is, so let's just dive into it. Ashton, you want to start us off with the headline roundup of the week?
Yes, I will. I just want to let the viewers at home and listeners listening, Joffrey said I couldn't do an accent while reading these. I thought they made for a funner list, but just
at least not in the first few headlines.
Just know this first one was supposed to be read in an Italian accent, so just
God.
imagine it. Okay, cops in Pocatello, Idaho. Oh no. Okay, fatally shoot an autistic teenager. R.I.P. Victor Perez.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. We heard you in real time understand exactly the logical, reasonable thing I was telling you about not doing an accent for that one. But yes,
lessons learned in real time. Go ahead, Joffrey.
Yeah. And we will be talking more about that story. Next up, cops in Jacksonville, Florida beat a detained man to death. R.I.P. Charles Fajar.
Cops in Polson, Montana plead guilty to child sex abuse.
Cop in Fall River, Massachusetts arrested in child sex trafficking sting.
Cop in NYC charged with sex abuse.
Cop in Manteca, California charged with sexual assault.
Cop in Greenwich, Connecticut arrested for domestic violence.
Cop in Houston awaiting trial for murder has just been charged with domestic violence.
Cops in Broward County, Florida arrested for beating a woman so bad she lost hearing.
Cop in New York charged with child endangerment.
Cop in Webster County, Nebraska arrested for child porn.
Cop in Bucks County, Pennsylvania arrested for child porn.
Cop in Will County, Illinois charged with child porn.
Cop in Jefferson County, Louisiana caught on video using excessive force.
Cop in New York, New Jersey caught on video using excessive force.
Cop in Toledo, Ohio is facing a lawsuit for pulling over the wrong person after misreading the license plate and then using excessive force.
Cops in Miami Beach, Florida found guilty of using excessive force on a tourist is given only probation by the judge.
Cop in Raleigh, North Carolina entered a family's house when no one was home and killed their dog.
And finally, a cop in, cop in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, who's killed 4 people and cost over $3 million in settlements has just been promoted to corporal.
And lastly, cops in College Park, Georgia arrested an innocent, paralyzed, wheelchair-bound man for supposedly kicking down someone's door, assaulting them, and then running away on foot.
Damn.
So
no fun shit.
There was no
pure,
fun shit, no
just
reason to do any silly voices.
Violence.
Exactly. But that was our headline roundup, a little snapshot of the horror of the week before we dive into some of the more some of the specific stories we want to cover today. But before we go into that, we're going to do something we haven't done before, but we'll probably do more and more as this podcast goes on, which is updates on previous stories that we've covered, because most of these stories are ongoing stories as, you know, the legal process unfolds with these cops committing crimes. But this first update is one from last week, and unfortunately, a tragic story from last week. We mentioned it in the headline roundup up top. In Bridgeport, Connecticut, the fatal shooting of Deshaun Best, who was a black man who was killed while running away from the police. Now, I mentioned this story in like the cops like video I do every week of the headlines, which is kind of this was the video series that was around before this podcast was, and it's funny. I always get the commenters trying to like poke holes in the thing. Yeah. And they'll always pick a story. They picked this story because apparently Deshaun, who was running away, was carrying a gun while he was murdered, shot in the back. I included the story, even though he was carrying a gun, because, again, he was running away. And so commenters picked that story. And it's always hilarious to me that, you know, I always get accused of cherry picking by like picking these stories and putting them all together. And it's like, but then they will like cherry pick the stories and pick one. They'll pick one and be like, well, what about this? Yeah. It's like, okay, well, can you also address like the whole video of like child porn, sex abuse, child porn, and then they like pull up their glasses. They're like, actually, one of those men was carrying a gun. Checkmate on your video there. And well, to the person who made that comment, fuck the haters as usual. But also, we have an update that you might be interested in, apparently. This update is from Connecticut News 12. Quote, attorney Darnell Crossland announced plans Wednesday to sue the Bridgeport Police Department for $40 million, saying, quote, compelling new video evidence shows conclusively that Deshaun Best did not have a gun when, end quote, when Bridgeport police officers shot him to death March 31st. On Friday, the Inspector General said a 9mm handgun was found next to the spot where Best fell after being shot. Bridgeport Police Chief Roderick Porter said last week the evidence shows the fatal shooting was, quote, in line with the state's use of force policy. Quote, the shooting is consistent with what we're seeing across the country. Police officers shooting unarmed black men, Crossland said. Deshaun had no gun, and so people are really getting close to questioning whether this gun was planted. So,
oh, damn.
Yeah. So there was a gun found on him that police, here's a gun. But now the attorney is saying that it wasn't actually on him. And, I looked at the body cam footage. It's hard to tell. He's saying it was like a vape cartridge that he was holding. In some instances, it looks more like a vape cartridge than a gun. I'm not here to make that decision. We're going to watch this whole thing unfold. I'm just saying that, maybe he didn't have a fucking gun. And again, I want to stress, not that it mattered. Running away from a cop should not be a death sentence. So that is a little update from last week. And next, we got an update from a story a few episodes ago.
I was just gonna say, between the vape and like a gun, we've seen also stories play out where like a white lady ran into a police department with a gun and was taken home.
Yep.
Safely. There's been plenty
they become complete de-escalation empaths when it comes to like a white person.
When the level of a measured response that is given when it's a white person, and like how every moment is calculated to protect them and their safety and making sure no one is harmed, versus the just unfiltered, we've entered war.
Exactly.
Every front open fire, whatever the protocol is that they choose.
Yeah.
It's always, you can't help but look and see like the differences, the discrimination in the.
When a white lady gets involved, they go from psychos to like indigo children,
Literally.
like telepathic powers of empathy, like an Alex Gray painting, you know, light beams shooting out of their heads into someone else.
Fucking start like, soft parenting. What's it called?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no, yeah. So that's like that's all. Whenever like I'm always, you know, these stories aren't us being like trying to just protect anybody who has a gun. It should not be brought to justice, or like the environment should be. We need people to make the environment safe. When there is someone who's going through whatever they're going through, and they are causing like whatever kind of disturbance to the community, we need people. We need peacekeepers. But if the peacekeepers come in and just completely bring more violence, it's just it's hard not to notice like.
That's a good way to put it. Peacekeeping versus whatever version of policing we got in this country, completely different things.
I don't want it to seem like it's like, when somebody has a gun, because that's what they love to do to us. They'd be like, he had a gun. And it's like, nigga, we're not saying you shouldn't stop somebody who has a gun. We're saying,
and it's always the person who has like the Second Amendment postered on their wall who are like, he had a gun though. It's like, I thought that was your favorite thing was having a gun.
Should he not be allowed to? Isn't that like the second thing the fucking founding fathers were like, that's our fucking rights. Number 2, guns. And so
I mean, yes, the men who owned people did have that amendment. So it all plays out and it all makes sense with the way we see it playing out.
It's just the cherry picking of when these police officers decide to just commit violence amongst the people they're arresting is it's always obvious who they use the overwhelming force on. So that's I just want to say that we don't just but we don't just like erase the gun out of our minds. We know that there's a gun, but we're just saying we've seen many protocols across the country, many instances where police are clearly able to bring in a shooter without shooting them or harming them.
But just to put a button on it, Deshaun, first of all, was not brandishing it, waving it towards the cops. He was running away from them. He was shot in the back. Second of all, might have been a vape. Might have been a vape. Yeah. So we're several layers away from like, we were protecting ourselves, you know? But all that being said, the next update we got is a little bit more fun.
Next update. In February, we covered the story of the retired Pennsylvania cop who shot her grandson. Y'all remember the granny? Shot her grandson in the leg during an argument. Here, we got an update to that fun story from the Pittsburgh Gazette. Prosecutors dropped attempted homicide charges against a retired Pittsburgh police officer who'd been accused of shooting her grandson during an argument earlier that year. Virginia Beck, 64, had also been facing charges of aggravated assault, child endangerment, and reckless endangerment in connection with February 11th incident at her Stanton
Definitely agree.
Heights.
Sorry.
No, Stanton Heights home.
Sorry for interrupting. I came in too quick there. But definitely agree with the child endangerment charge when you shoot your grandson. But the charge was dropped. So let's keep going.
The police, I'm sorry. It was, the district attorney's office withdrew all charges against Ms. Beck at a preliminary hearing Wednesday afternoon. First assistant district attorney Rebecca Spangler said Mrs. Beck's grandson was uncooperative in the case and refused to testify. A real grandson. All right, holding it down.
Blood is thicker than water, dude.
Yeah, his blood specifically.
See this blood, Grandma? Same blood, right?
This nigga bleed now.
I love you, Grandma.
This blood right here is thicker than water. But thus, Ms. Spangler said we were unable to meet our burden of proof and we were unable to proceed. Police became involved in the incident after they said a woman later identified as Miss Beck dropped her teenage grandson off at a children's hospital around 1:30 a.m. in the morning of the incident. The boy told officers that he had been arguing with his grandmother and punched a hole in his bedroom wall, so we obviously know what race this is. According to the complaint, he said that as the argument went on, he picked up his PlayStation console in the intention of smashing it onto the ground. Again, we are really getting a clearer picture of what race this is. As he did so, Miss Beck pulled a silver revolver from her waistband and allegedly fired one round, which hit the boy in the leg.
I love that. I love that she was saving the PlayStation. No! Boom, boom. Grandson gets shot. He's like, oh, actually, that makes sense. I'm not going to press charges.
She's like, inherit this motherfucker. Bah, 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 bah. That shit is, I Googled this. Dude, there's a lot of grandmas shooting grandsons. Like, I just wanted to, like, get further info on the story. So I just assumed, I Googled the basic shit. Like, I was like, okay, this will bring up this grandma.
I'm going to look up the grandmother who shot her grandson.
Yeah. And then, like, fucking a list of articles, grandma. I'm like, oh my God. And here's what fucked me up even more. I was like, okay, I'm not going to do bias reporting. Let me switch it. Okay, let me switch. Grandson shooting grandma. Because, you could Google anything and your answers will come up. Let me just see the
You're just exploring now.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to just be like, these grandmas are shooting grandsons. So I was like, let me do the other side. Let me grandson shooting grandmas.
Maybe the grandma's got a reason to be shooting their grandson. We don't know the whole story.
Wrong. These grandsons are out here not shooting grandmas. The violence is completely unequal. Yeah. There's grandmas fucking up grandsons out here for real.
Damn.
It genuinely, like, these grandmas out here, like, they're like
shooting their grandkids.
Yeah, it's like, it's like your mom. I'm doing something your mama should have did.
Yeah, dude. I mean, obviously, like, beyond him being a good grandson, by not pressing charges, it's like, no matter what, your grandma's gonna be in your life. Like, you don't want to press charges against the lady who already shot you, and you're gonna have to see every other weekend anyways.
Yeah, you gonna fuck up the whole. Your fucking Thanksgiving dinners, everything. This is like, come on.
Yeah.
Now you can't trust.
Everyone's getting a turkey leg. You got a horse's head sitting in front of you. It's like, Grandma.
Come on. I thought we were over there.
Grandma's for real. I mean, instead of, most of us scared of the belt. She's got the fucking gap.
Next time she ain't reaching in her titties for change. You flinch a little, like, oh fuck, what she grabbed?
Yeah.
But shout out to the, grandmas out here.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is that the only unfortunate thing about the story is that we did miss out on the trial of the century. That would have been awesome.
Can't testify on your grandma.
That would have been awesome to see, though.
Testify on your grandma.
Objection, Your Honor. The defendant is brandishing a slipper at the victim right now while he's giving his testimony. He's intimidating the witness, Your Honor. Judge is like, it's a slipper.
You snitch on me? Snitches get switches. And she just cracks the fucking whip. It's a little grandma humor.
Yeah. Except her switch is a gun.
For real.
All right, so those are little updates. As this podcast goes on, we'll have more updates as time just moves forward. But what are we covering in today's episode? In our main episode, we'll be covering a disgraced cop turned ICE contractor falsely identifying people as Venezuelan gang members and deporting them, a 911 dispatcher ordering breakfast while on the phone, a school cop threatening students on Instagram, and, as we mentioned earlier, tragically, cops fatally shooting an autistic teenager 9 times.
Yeah. On our Patreon episode, remember, check out our Patreon, $5 a month. We putting up good fucking shit on there. Please check us out. Also, you could help, cover the cost of this podcast. You'll be helping your boys out. So join the Patreon. But we'll be discussing Louisiana's prison system using an algorithm to determine who gets parole and who does not. So stick around. I'm sure Joff got some great insight onto that story.
Hey, don't sell yourself short. Look, we're both out here trying our damnedest.
I'm the Batman. I'm the Robin to your Batman.
No, that's not true.
I almost said Batman.
We're the Hardy Boys out here. But let's just dive in. So we're gonna start in Milwaukee, reading from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. A disgraced former Milwaukee cop with credibility issues helps seal the fate of a gay Venezuelan makeup artist sent to an El Salvador prison, according to documents reviewed by USA Today. A report approved by the police officer turned prison contractor, claimed the Venezuelan man was a member of the notorious Tren de Aragua gang. But concerns about the credibility of Charles Cross Jr., 62, who signed the report, had already landed him on a list of Milwaukee County law enforcement officers accused of lying, bias, or breaking the law years earlier. Cross, 62, was fired from his position as a Milwaukee police sergeant in October 2012 after driving his car into a family's home while intoxicated. His blood alcohol level was more than double the legal driving limit. The former officer appealed the decision and resigned in the process, according to the department. He was also being investigated for claiming overtime he allegedly hadn't earned. Now, you might think, if you drunkenly crash your car into a family's home, you would be going to jail. Mm-hmm. But you would be wrong, idiot. No, you're actually going to be hired by our Nazi secret police, ICE, immediately after. So his record isn't over there. Additionally, in 2007, Cross received a misdemeanor conviction after kicking in the door of the apartment he shared with his girlfriend and threatening to kill himself with his service revolver. Afterwards, he temporarily lost his job, but later was reinstated after appealing to the Milwaukee Fire and Police Commission. He appealed.
Bruh,
he said, please, no.
How is he not in the El Salvadorian prison?
Exactly.
What the
fuck? They gave him his job back. Hey, you would think that after breaking down the door and threatening to kill yourself with your, as it says, service weapon, the gun that's part of your job, you might be fired. But no, you would be wrong again.
I want to see that police chief being like, God damn it, what's his name?
Cross.
God damn, such a TV cop name.
Yeah.
Right? God damn it, Cross, you crashed your car into a family of four. You broke into your ex-girlfriend's house and threatened to suicide both of you. But God damn you, some of the finest police work I've ever seen.
Exactly.
Here's your badge in the
What did he do? Threaten to kill himself in front of his girlfriend? All of a sudden we're firing cops for being romantics?
Some of the best goddamn police work I've ever seen, if you
We're
ask me.
firing cops for believing in love.
It's like those movies where they just list all the fucking, you caused the city $9 million in damage. But
the psychological trauma inflicted on your girlfriend will probably never be fully healed.
But God damn it, Cross.
You reminded me what being an officer is really about.
You done it again. Just list all the awful. I gotta take your badge.
Yeah.
I'm giving you your badge back.
Yeah, exactly. And so he went from eventually resigning from the police. Hold on. Let me find exactly where we're at. Okay. The incident, so this is the incident of, threatening to kill himself in front of his girlfriend, landed him on the Milwaukee County Brady list.
That's not Drake coded.
What?
Threatening to kill yourself in front of your girlfriend. I don't know.
Yeah, another person who belongs in jail.
No, it just seems like an emotional. That seems like an emotional Drake thing.
Yeah, I mean, cops, as we learned last episode, don't handle being broken up with well.
Girl, if you don't love me, I'm not. I don't even know. It just feels.
Okay, where are we? Blah, blah, blah. 4 months after resigning from the Milwaukee Police Department, and I'm gonna read that again. 4 months after resigning from the Milwaukee Police Department, Cross was hired at CoreCivic, a company that runs many of the immigration detention centers for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So notice here that it said a company. That means we're talking about one of the infamous ICE private prisons. So that's what we're dealing with here. Today, he is one of the private prison contractors helping to identify Venezuelan migrants as members of the criminal outfit Tren de Aragua, a designation that's landing them in a Salvadoran prison without due process. According to a court filing, Cross typed his name over the title investigator on the form that implicated Andre Jose Hernandez, a gay makeup artist from Venezuela who has denied any connection to Tren de Aragua. Now, I want to again mention 4 months. So that's the time period in between him being a drunken lunatic, crashing his car into families' houses, breaking down his girlfriend's door with a gun to his own head. He leaves that job. 4 months later, he's hired. Now he's all of a sudden an expert on Venezuelan gangs. It's literally his job now to confirm. It says here his title is investigator. He is the one that signs off. This is specifically his job, his duty, to sign off on whether someone they've detained is actually affiliated with this Venezuelan gang. And one of the people that he signed off on is this a gay makeup artist and hairdresser. And I don't want to like, look, obviously both of us, you as a black man, me as a brown man, we're against like profiling people, right? We don't think that's good. But all I'm gonna say is that if you are profiling people, which you do as an ICE agent, as a police officer, that's part of y'all's job, is to profile people and send them to jail. At least profile in the other direction sometimes. At least be like, okay, this is an openly gay hairdresser. I'm going to use my profiling skills to maybe assume that a man who is openly gay might not actually be a part of this murderous gang. Correct?
No, sure. Listen, I'm
against profiling, but
truly, yeah. Maybe in their mind they were like, oh, the MS, maybe this gang just has a makeup department. I don't know. Maybe maybe this gang has a makeup. You know, I don't know. Maybe they were too woke. Maybe that's what's happening here. They were like, oh, this gang puts on drag shows.
Sure,
and they need a makeup artist.
Yeah.
For the drag, you know.
I mean, they're not woke when they're detaining innocent people and sending them to El Salvador. But when it comes to like maybe a gay guy could be a violent criminal.
Maybe, you know, he's not.
They're like, it's 2025.
Yeah, come on. I'm just saying. Or, you know, maybe a gang can have, you know, a makeup artist. I think they can have all the things. They can have. Maybe they do drag shows.
Violent, murderous gangs have not been typically known for having progressive views on sexuality, and maybe I'm being a little judgmental. I think
you don't see the vision. I don't think you see what some of these gangs.
Maybe they thought he was Omar.
They thought, or like I'm saying the makeup artist for a gang could be. They could have drag shows. You know,
sure.
You could be like, you've heard of MS-13. Now meet MISS-13.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah, that was.
You made me fight for it. you made me fight every inch for that pun.
I did. I did. And I'm glad I put up a fight, to be honest. I'm proud of that fight.
I was trying to get it off.
Yeah. Are you proud of yourself?
I said MISS-13.
All right. No, that was good. That was a good pun. But let's straighten out. I mean, again, we are reading.
I'm just trying to bring a little levity.
You're right. It's a tough job.
Far be it from me.
It's a tough job we have.
Find a fun.
It's a tough job we have.
Story.
Making this podcast.
But go back to
making
this,
it. Yes, making this
sad story,
making this horror somewhat digestible. But yeah, let's go back to the horror. Andre Jose Hernandez, 30, is from Capacho, Venezuela. He worked as a makeup artist for a state-run television station where he was constantly discriminated against and threatened for his sexual orientation and political views. Last year, he quit his job and fled Venezuela for the U.S. Hernandez claimed he was being persecuted as a gay man, one of the protected groups allowed to claim asylum under U.S. law. Hernandez initially tried crossing into the U.S. illegally and was intercepted by U.S. Border Patrol agents, who returned him to Mexico, according to court filings. He then presented himself at San Isidro Port of Entry in San Diego in August after making an appointment through a government app called CBP-1. And CBP-1, by the way, we could do a whole episode on that. It was an app made for specifically this immigration process that was so riddled with problems, it was pretty much unusable, but it doesn't even matter anymore because Trump just got rid of it in the first place. So it was there to help this process. It was terribly executed, and Trump just got rid of it anyways. So anyways, Hernandez passed an initial, quote, credible fear interview with a federal agent, but after Border Patrol officials questioned him about his tattoos, and this is what we've been seeing, like this whole fucking ridiculous tattoo thing, he was transferred to ICE custody and sent to the Otay Mesa Detention Center in San Diego. There, Torres questioned Hernandez. So Torres is just another guy high up in this process of determining who is gang affiliated. Torres questioned Hernandez. Torres filled out questionnaires suggesting the asylum seeker's tattoos, including a crown on either wrist next to the words dad and mom, linked him to the Tren de Aragua, which is just absurd. Like, how relatable is it having a tattoo that says mom or dad? Like, it's literally, we have it in cartoons that people have tattoos that say mom on them. Hernandez repeatedly denied being
part of the Mama's Boys.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah.
Exactly. Hernandez repeatedly denied being part of the group, and Paulina Reyes, a lawyer for Hernandez, has said the crown tattoos represent his connection to his hometown's annual Three Kings Festival. On one form, dated December 10th, 2024, a points-based rubric sheet titled SDG Member Validation / Confirmation, Hernandez was given a 5 for his tattoos. None of the other categories, including, quote, intelligence information received from other agencies or group photos with other gang members, were checked. Still, he was named a suspect. The document is signed, completed by Torres, and, quote, confirmed by Cross, the original cop known for lying and just being a degenerate. And I want to mention, at the end of this process, before he was shipped off to a fucking El Salvador prison, he's named a suspect. So, like, you're not going to get a more clear example of how there's no due process here by the fact that they finalized him as just a suspect.
Of what?
Of being a gang member, but still, like, suspicion of is enough to get you fucking deported, not only deported, also, but sent to this gulag.
Just being a gang member in itself. It's like, that's not, what crime is that?
Exactly.
Like, not to say like what crime.
That's a great point.
Being a gang member. He's a gang member. Okay, what did he do? What crime has he committed upon the community? Like, that's just it sounds like just rounding people up.
Gang members can commit crimes. Yeah. They can organize to do crimes. The crime is the crime.
Yeah. It's like gang member is just a label that you're able, if you want to put, it's just a label they're using to literally label who they want to throw away and without any due process. It's just like, it's all part of this immigration kick, obviously, with, them boys in office. It's just they're never, being real, niggas didn't need no reason. They don't want Spanish. If you ain't a white man and barely if you a white woman, you count your fucking lucky horses. They haven't figured out a law to get your ass out of this country. The ones that they can justify by being, we label them illegal. I mean, well, they illegally are in this country while making it.
They're undocumented, which is a civil offense. It's not even a criminal offense.
And you make the process of getting a citizenship the road in fucking possible. It's just, this is all an excuse to. They're just doing this. We're like being like, look, they're doing this thing, and it's like, they're really just bullies being like, we want to get fucking brown people out of our country.
Exactly.
I don't know how to say that legally.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly. You're completely right. We're seeing like a window. We're seeing these little windows, little glimpses into the bureaucracy behind this. But the bureaucracy is complete horseshit, as we can see. Yeah. They know their destination. Get them out, and then so they retroactively have to justify it. And so here we see like, oh yeah, this hairdresser is a suspect because of his tattoo that says mom and dad, and that's why, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So of course the window into the behind the curtain of these deportations are going to be absurd.
And mind you, it's like the prison they're sending them to, literally the guy overseeing it is like, once they're in, they're in. Ain't no coming out. We don't have a system to take them out, which is crazy. But
it's crazy, and it's a very convenient for what Trump's goals are.
Yeah. So people getting taken without due process, thrown into El Salvadorian prisons. 2025.
Oh yeah. So
sorry, go ahead.
We're just gonna round out what's left of the excerpts of this article for the pod. Hernandez was transferred to a federal detention center in Texas a few weeks after his review with Torres and Cross around March 6th. After this, he was sent to El Salvador's terrorism confinement center known as CSOT. I don't know. I've seen it written. I've never seen it pronounced. It's the one we keep seeing. Mm-hmm. His lawyers haven't heard from him since his arrival. So this is where, this is just a tragic story.
Disappearing people in
He's
the prisons.
disappeared.
Damn.
Lawyers have not heard from him. He has literally been disappeared. We don't know if he's even alive. We don't know what condition he's in. Former ICE agent director John Sandweg. So again, I'm going to say that again. Former ICE acting director John Sandweg said ICE agents routinely investigate whether detained migrants had gang affiliations or criminal histories. Historically, the gang designation was something made by a federal official and reviewed by supervisors before the allegation went in front of an immigration judge, he said. Even then, suspicion of gang alliance was something used to target or fast-track a migrant's deportation, not the sole reason for their removal, Sandwich said. Quote, the idea that government contractors might be making that decision would be very alarming, he said. So this is the former ICE acting director, the former head of our secret police being like, yo, this is crazy what y'all got our secret police doing right now.
Yeah.
And not a good sign, I would say.
Emperor Palpatine being like, chill, bro.
Yeah.
I know I made a Death Star, but this shit crazy.
Exactly.
Whoa, yeah, that's...
And he brings up a good point to bring up, and an absurd, very important part of all this is that he, the cop that this whole former cop that this whole story centers around, who had to resign for being an idiot, and then 4 months later was hired by this. He wasn't hired by ICE. He was hired by a contractor, a company that ICE is contracting out to. So this man is not even a part of our government, but he is the one who apparently is signing off on this person being a gang member, and therefore is continuing the process of their deportation. So here we have just like private contractors in the U.S., in this case a former cop, who are an integral part of the deportation process of basically just kicking out Venezuelans, which is what we're seeing.
It's crazy. Who were this guy's references? Like, how he got another job after all the it's not like he was crashing his car drunk. Like, how do you even...
They were probably like, wow, very impressive resume you got over here, causing terror. And
it would be one thing if he was like, all his crimes were race related. He's like, I got sued because I beat up a family, a Dominican family. Like, it'd be one thing of like, because I could see evil corporations looking over racism. Like, I don't give a fuck. But his crimes are like just the duty of job crime.
Sure,
like he got drunk on while he was supposed to do racism and end up fucking some shit up. That's why I'm like, how do the references happen? Like, he's not even good at the job. Why would you want it?
But it's
obviously he's doing his job great. Just he's doing
exactly. Like, his incompetence, he's still being incompetent over here, signing off on this person who's obviously not a gang member, and it's paying off because that quote unquote incompetence is actually the implicit goal here of just getting rid of Latino people.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier in the stories, the list of stories we're reading off, but Pocatello, Idaho, via AP. An autistic, nonverbal teenage boy who was shot repeatedly by Idaho police from the other side of a chain-linked fence while he was holding a knife died Saturday after being removed from life support. His family said Victor Perez, 17, who also had cerebral palsy, had been in a coma since the April 5th shooting, and tests Friday showed that he had no brain activity. His aunt Anna Vasquez told the Associated Press, He had undergone several surgeries with doctors removing 9 bullets and amputating his leg. Police.
Yeah, and this was real quick. Some people were following this story. It made a bit of a splash, obviously, about a few days ago when this incident initially happened, and we all knew the person was in the hospital. The kid, Victor Perez, R.I.P., was in the hospital struggling, and it was this morning that I got the update that he did not make it. They removed him, from life support.
I see, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Police in the southeast Idaho city of Pocatello responded to a 911 call reporting that an apparently intoxicated man with a knife was chasing someone in the yard. It turned out to be Perez, who was not intoxicated but walked with a staggered gait due to his disabilities, Vasquez said. His family members had been trying to get the large kitchen knife away from him. Video taken by a neighbor showed that Perez was lying in the yard after falling over when 4 officers arrived and rushed to the fence at the edge of the yard. They immediately ordered Perez to drop the knife, but instead he stood and began stumbling towards them. Officers opened fire within about 12 seconds of getting out of their patrol cars and made no apparent effort to de-escalate the situation. The shooting outraged Perez's family and Pocatello residents, and about 200 people attended a vigil Saturday morning outside the Pocatello hospital where he was treated. Another crowd of protesters gathered outside the Pocatello City Hall building, which also houses the police department, on Saturday afternoon. Police snipers were stationed on a nearby rooftop during the protest, though no violence was reported.
Dude, that's so telling of what they think of their community.
Yeah.
That they feel like, oh, we're in danger. These are dangerous people out here who are protesting the fact that we killed a child. Let's get our snipers on the roof. That's what we think of the community that we're supposed to protect.
I mean, if you just protest any type of violence committed by state, they'll disappear as to where are they sending the fucking college kids to they're sending them like Louisiana. So yeah, this goes in line with the police state ass place we live in. Like police snipers were stationed on a nearby rooftop during the protest, though no violence was reported. Many of the protesters held signs with phrases like "Do better, PPD" and "Justice for Victor," and passing cars honked in acknowledgement. The officers, whose names have not been released, were placed on administrative leave. Damn, it's just every time it's like never fails you, and you're like, these guys just straight up eviscerated a man, and just administrative leave is call, no show. It's a wrap for you at Popeyes, but these guys just crazy. Decisions about whether charges should be filed against them will be made after an independent investigation by the Eastern Idaho Critical Incident Team. Bannock County Prosecutor Ian Johnson told the AP via email. When that investigation is complete, a report will be submitted for review. He said, in a continued effort to ensure independent and objective consideration, said report will be reviewed by an agency outside of Bannock County. Yeah, but that's the story. Cops have no type of, it's again, just going back to picking and choosing when they want to weaponize, take down, how they take down, subdue, there's quote unquote like what is it called? Not subjects, but suspects. It's just
this article did a good job of summarizing the body camera footage by including 12 seconds. I mean, that's the craziest thing. It's like so quickly, 12 seconds. Like you call the cops, they could kill you in 12 seconds. Like you see the cop, they pull up in the car, they run out, they're pulling their guns out, and they line up along a chain link fence. This kid's on the ground and he's lying down, and they point the guns. They're screaming. So the kid gets up, and then they just start unloading. And like that's the cops. That's the police. That's it's just unbelievable.
You gotta like design weapons. They already have so many non-lethal weapons, but every time these situations happen, I just start thinking about like things they could have. Like, what about a net gun? Like, just if somebody has a knife, you don't gotta shoot them with a deadly bullet. Yeah, you guys have. You can't tell me. I've seen it in so many spy movies, and a lot of my references are just movie based. But like, why isn't there a gun that like a high powered like little gun that shoots out a net and captures a motherfucker? Like some form of
Sure. I mean,
non-lethal.
all the cops are trained to do is like, oh, there's a guy with a knife, so let's get ready to kill a man with a weapon. But instead, you know, it's a child with it's pretty severe autism. Like it said, he was nonverbal. So that's who we're dealing with. This is a 17-year-old kid with he had cerebral palsy and he had autism that made him nonverbal. And the reason why the cops were called there was because of the neighbor. To me, that tells a lot. That the family was in the backyard trying to get the knife away from him. So to me, that says the family, they know. Mm-hmm. They know that this is their kid. He has these struggles, but they didn't call the cops. They're just trying to get the knife out of his hands. He is intellectually disabled to the point where he's nonverbal, and he has cerebral palsy. He is also physically disabled. Mm-hmm. So they didn't feel the need to get the cops involved. They were trying to handle it. It was the neighbor who called the cops, not trying to demonize the neighbor. The neighbor saw, a guy with a knife in someone's backyard. He did what he thought. I'm never gonna blame someone else for calling the cops. The cops are supposed to protect us, right? So that's what this person chose to do. And I'm assuming the video that was taken by the neighbor is the same neighbor who called the cops, because the neighbor seemed, whoever this neighbor was, they were ready with the video. And you see the cops show up, and then in seconds, the kid is dead. So we last week we covered Anthony Lowe that murdered the guy in the wheelchair. It's like the cops' lack of understanding about disabilities, lack of empathy with disabilities has to be like one of the primary biggest issues we see, because it's like whether it's someone with autism, whether it's someone who's going through a psychotic break, wants to harm themselves, whether it's someone in a wheelchair, or we covered the black guy with cerebral palsy that they all beat up. It's like every week it's like a nonstop onslaught of cops acting violent towards people who are disabled.
Well, it's because they have no nuance in their approach at all. They just assume screaming at people and coming in, like when they come in, all they do is make commands and just be like, "Yo, do this, do this, do this." And it's like that can't be your approach to every single situation, because like there are people who don't respond to just yelling and violence and do this. You're creating an environment that's gonna cause chaos. He's a non-verbal. When you make these commands of people, when you say do this, do that, do you not take into account that someone could be blind, someone could be non-verbal, someone could just not be in the state of mind that listening to this fucking human weapon screaming, like a scary guy, a scary person screaming at them, if you just assume they're like are capable of listening to your threats and your commands. So it's like already creates their hammer approach, their hit everything approach is always going to create fucking violence and just situations like this, because they don't even take for nuance. Everything's not a nail. Everything like everything's you. Some people are like this kid, disabled, nonverbal, probably doesn't have a quite grasp of like the situation they're in. It's just you as adults, you as these the people who are supposed to have the everything under control and who are supposed to bring order to the situation end up causing more chaos because you don't fucking just apply any type of thought to your approach. And it's just but it's a system wide like ignorance.
Well, it goes back to I love so much what you said earlier. It's like this is why people say abolish the police. Like people get freaked out by that idea. Like, oh, does that mean there'll be no one? We're all just gonna get to run amok? No, it means like abolish this shit. This is not peacemaking. If this is policing. This is policing as we know it in America. Is showing up, guns drawn, and blasting at a kid who has cerebral palsy, who is limping, and there was a fence in between you and the kid, and you're surrounded by your colleagues. Like it's like 6v1 with a fence in between. with a child who has cerebral palsy, is physically disabled, and y'all unload on him, that's fucking policing. That is not peacemaking.
Yeah, it seems you can't, like, each week it comes in, like, the story can't, you don't think like you could think of something worse that the police can do, and then it just keeps that they shoot a kid who's has cerebral palsy, who's autistic, nonverbal, who they kill. It's like, it reminds me of like, I'm not gonna. It's just like the worst. It's like it never ceases to amaze me how it's constantly can get worse and worse and worse and worse.
And that's really why I wanted to do this podcast, is because I was just, when I was at Redacted Tonight and I was researching stories every week, I had certain subjects I would research, and police was one of them, and it absolutely blew my mind how much, the sheer quantity of shocking, insane stories that are coming out every week. And these stories started to haunt me, and I was like, you know what? I gotta make everyone else go through the same despair that I go through.
Neither can you, motherfucker.
Yeah, so that's what y'all get.
But damn.
But yeah, R.I.P. Rest in peace to Victor Perez. Just an absolutely tragic, beyond infuriating story. And with that, I know this was a really heavy episode with these two big stories. So we're gonna round it out with two fun, silly little stupid stories. So if y'all made it this far, thank you, because this was tough.
Palate cleansers.
Yeah.
You know?
So and this is probably the part that is I most challenging for me doing this podcast, is the transitions of going from what we just read to taking a deep breath and being like, okay, shake that off. Now let's go to this next story. This is in Tiverton, Rhode Island. This, honestly, is a couple years old. I remember this story from a couple years ago, and I wanted to just bring it in because we just needed a palate cleanser. I was like, let's bring in this story because I guarantee y'all have not heard about this story, and it's just, I'll just read it. I'm reading from WJAR, Rhode Island. The father of a Tiverton High School senior said several students decided to decorate the school resource officer's office at the high school for the holidays. Aw. It was supposed to be a joke, but the officer didn't laugh. Students taped balloons, streamers, and other decorations to the doors and walls outside Tiverton SRO Jacob Raposa's office. The students thought it was a harmless prank, but he didn't find it funny when photos were posted online. Quote, on December 16th, there was an exchange on Instagram on a class of 2023 page that is administered by my daughter, said Bill Gerlach to NBC 10. Gerlach said Raposa allegedly used his personal Instagram account, Lifted508, to exchange comments with students, calling the incident, quote, vandalism. But his comments allegedly turned into a threat when he wrote, quote, should you really be messing with someone who can deck your driving record with citations?
Hell yeah. Hell
Something Gerlach said is unacceptable behavior. Gerlach said his daughter wrote a letter to the school district and police department about what happened, and both acted swiftly. The school fired Raposa from his job, and while he's still employed by the police department, he is on paid administrative leave.
Nice.
Which means he's on a vacation.
Beefing with kids, baby.
Beefing with kids. Well, you earned yourself a vacation as far as we're concerned.
Officer
Hell of a job.
Officer Cat Williams over here fucking. He's like, don't you know I can have your records? I don't know. I'm not a good Cat Williams impersonator, but yeah. Who the fuck's fighting with these kids?
Yeah,
like, crazy.
Dude. What kind of PTSD do you have to have that's so specific to where like a bunch of balloons in your office? Like, these
Pop,
fucking
pop, pop. He just hears them pop. Pulls out his gun.
These fucking kids.
These streamers, My wife and kid were murdered by a group of party clowns.
You kids better watch your back.
What the fuck?
Threatening them. They're threatening them, which this part I love, threatening them in the Instagram comments, not even in the DMs.
He's like, bitch, if I could stop and frisk you over the DMs.
These are public threats.
Sir, we can't see you.
Get this man's phone away from him.
It's like, well, you don't have, like, he's too dumb to turn his body cam off. He turns his body cam off and then goes on to the comments. Bro.
When I find you motherfuckers, you're going to be real sorry for decorating my office.
I'm going to decorate my office, all right, with your fucking blood. With the blood of children. With the blood of these teens. Hey, man, you know.
School was like, yeah, you're fired.
Yeah, we got it, bro. You can't be. Anyway, I mean, to be fair, these school resource officers are fucking the biggest bullies on campus. They are literally, you can go YouTube, find fucking as much UFC footage of just cops tanking kids, just fucking DDTing them. So these kids got away with it. I'm saying these kids actually got away with their fucking lives because the cop could have just added them to his demo reel. If we're being honest, but,
one kid he suplexes the other kid. He's like, "So what are you doing this weekend?" Because a lot of that too.
No, the real scary comment be like, "I see you in third period, bitch."
So great, hilarious, terrible story there, and then. Ashley, let's round us out for the main episode here.
I like this story. This is a fun one. Let me pull it up. Okay, yeah, we're going to Savannah, Georgia. A dispatcher in Georgia is accused of ordering breakfast while answering a 911 call. That's literally... On Valentine's Day, Dylan Johnson called 911 when he thought someone was breaking into his house. When he finally made contact with the dispatcher, he says she was ordering breakfast. My wife called me while I was at work about 9:30 and said someone was snooping around the house, knocking on the doors and banging on windows and stuff, said Johnson. He called the county's non-emergency line first, followed by 911 3 times, finally getting an answer by 9:31 a.m. After trying for about 6 minutes, according to his phone's call log. Damn, he called the cops multiple.
That's another like little Patreon side quest we could do. How many times he was calling and waiting? Yeah. Which this is an issue. Yeah.
After the third time, he's like, "Am I dialing the right? It is now." You just start. You like, "Am I wrong? Is it 911?" No. 6 times. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, after he calls about 3 times, finally get an answer by 9:31 a.m. After trying for about 6 minutes, according to his phone call log. I was panicking. My wife was home alone with my 5-month-old daughter. I was coming home, not knowing what I was going to come home to, said Johnson. After about 3 minutes into Johnson's 911 call, you can hear the dispatcher talking to others around her and appearing to order breakfast. The dispatcher appears to say, McGriddle. I'm sorry, what? On the call.
McGriddle?
That cough wasn't me. That was part of this.
He was doing a great impression. This guy, he needs more acting roles over here.
Consummate professional. But Johnson says he was stunned by what he heard. I really couldn't believe it. It didn't happen to me. I really couldn't believe it if it didn't happen to me. I wouldn't believe that it had happened to someone else. That's how unbelievable it was. This guy was just truly in disbelief. That was damn. That was confusing ass sinister. It sounded like some lyrics to a song. Sorry. I couldn't believe it happened to you. I couldn't believe it happened to you. I didn't believe it happened to me. Can you believe it? Ooh, I can't believe it. It's T-Pain right here. Sorry, that was
that's fine. He's okay.
Crossing my wires there.
Let's get our laughs off on this story.
I thought I was reading T-Pain. Sorry, yeah, but let me try that again. I really couldn't believe it. If it didn't happen to me, I wouldn't believe that it happened to someone else. That's how unbelievable it was. That's cartoon ass dialogue. I'm sorry, sir. But yeah, not me being insecure because I couldn't read your shit all loud. Hey man, no, he fucked up. Not me. He sound weird. Not me.
No, it was written like a MF Doom line verse. Like, what the fuck is this? I couldn't believe
it. But if he believed it, if I did,
like
shout out to all my non-believers.
It's a Tech 9 throwaway that we got over here.
God damn. All right. Yeah, sorry. But to wrap this up, that was how unbelievable it was, said Johnson. When police arrived, Johnson says whoever was there at his house had already left. He says his wife was shaken up, but his family was okay. Yeah. So they were ordering, he called 911 and they were like, they were ordering McDonald's.
I mean, specifically McGriddle. That's funny.
Yeah,
McGriddle is funny. As a couple of comedy writers, we may not have a lot of expertise on this podcast, but we can't tell you this. McGriddle is funny.
I can tell you, not just McGriddle is funny because of the word. It's just a funny word. But also, I understand. I've gone to sleep thinking about McGriddles. I've wholeheartedly been like, when I wake up in the morning, it will be 10 a.m. I've gotten up. I've set an alarm for McGriddles because I'm like, damn, I'm gonna miss them.
You've been in the writer's room like, Ashton, what do you got? McGriddle. Sorry.
So we not gonna downplay what the power of the McGriddle in this. Also, have you seen McDonald's prices lately? I don't know if you've been. That wife wasn't the only one getting robbed. That operator,
that's the real crime.
It was some other crime being taken. $9.39. Yeah, you spending $12 on a McGriddle and a hash brown. Yeah, shit's changed. But yeah, no.
But I get being pissed off. Like you're in this like heightened, fearful state. You're worried about your loved ones. You call 911. You want to hear 911. What's your emergency? Not. Let me get a 10 piece with it.
No, 911. What's your order? No. No, it's crazy. This is. I got a job and I started going to therapy, and this is what made me stop going to therapy because this was during the pandemic. You could only do Zoom therapy or like over the phone teletherapy. So this is my second therapist because the first one, I was like, okay, I should try again. The first one, it just felt like I was recording a podcast. And I was like, all right, well, tell me about you. I didn't know what to fucking say. And then the second one, I was like, okay. She's like, all right, tell me what's up. And then I can hear her in the background, just papers, like just bags of Doritos, just like, and I can hear the window rolling down. I was like, lady, are you even paying a fucking attention?
She was in the drive-thru?
I felt like she was going through the drive-thru. Like she was just totally like, it felt like she was going through a McDonald's drive-thru.
Sure, yeah. So, it sounds like she's like a viral TikTok prankster. Like it sounds like, because there's the guy who would do that at job interviews. That would be like another one. It's like, watch me do my give my client therapy via Zoom while I'm really ordering at McDonald's.
I literally, that's what made me stop going. I was like, is this lady even? Repeat what I said. Bitch, you was not paying attention. Like, so, I mean, it just reminded me. But. All right. It kind of makes me want to call 911 just to do like, what's your emergency? Nothing. I was just checking to make sure you niggas doing your job.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just doing an audit. Making sure, but yeah.
That's our episode. Appreciate y'all listening, and we're about to hop on the Patreon. So we recommend you sign up for that. $5 a month, get you a weekly bonus episode. More of this. We like to do a little bit more in-depth stories on there, but it's essentially, you're getting more of this, more of a. If you like this, you get more of it. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say.
$5 a month, that's only half a McGriddle. So you can afford that,
Exactly. But either way, appreciate y'all listening. Thank you.
Peace. Catch y'all on the Patreon.